Hey Baron, how are you doing today?
Good. What's happening?
Not too much, but I'm so excited to introduce you to everyone that's listening. Two-time NBA All-Star, investor, entrepreneur. I'm sure everyone's gonna really be excited to listen to you and hear everything that you have to say. And I've had such the pleasure of getting to know you these past few weeks.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's best to set the stage of like how we even got into contact. You are now an investor in Toucan as well. And so, how does someone like Baron Davis find out about Toucan?
I would say for me, it's really curiosity. And so, I like to research and figure out, who's in LA, what companies are being built, and really try to reach out and connect. And when I found out about Toucan, I was like, oh, this is super cool. Did a little background check, and I was like, hey, this company is, being built in LA, and it'd be great if, I could reach out and just say, welcome to LA. And then the more I start finding out, I'm like, hey, these are LA locals, born and raised here, and our stories just really connected. And I was like, I want to be and need to be a part of this journey, because your story, Taylor, and everybody at Toucan is an LA story, and we want to make sure that we can amplify that. And so I'm happy now to be an investor and a friend, and however I need to be a resource. And I just think that's the power of social media, is being able to connect with people and find people. And it was just like a post, a follow, a post, a retweet, a reply, and that's how we connected.
Yes, I love that so much. And it's so crazy that it all came off of Twitter and you ended up sending us so many people. It crashed our website. And then we just kept those conversations going. And like, there's so many parallels to our story, like both LA natives, born and
Mhm.
raised. We talk about being competitive athletes and how that's really
Absolutely.
transferred over to now, like your investor site. You are also a serial entrepreneur. And I'm curious to know a little bit more, like even beyond Toucan, like what do you look for in these companies that you invest in? Just for anyone that's listening that might would dream about having you on their cap table.
Well, I would say for us, it's, taking the humble approach as, a scout, right, or a coach, and looking to see, which companies kind of have a head start in their space, or really a true definition of who they are and what they want to be. I think a lot of it is the spirit of the entrepreneur and the
Mhm.
founders of the company that you connect to. And you know it's, you want to help, like I want to help, and so a lot of times is for us to be able to listen and also to learn, like, where is your true north star, who are the people that you need to connect, to your business. And if my wheels start spinning and I can figure that out, then for us, I think it's an easy fit, right? But we are looking for women, we're looking for Black and brown women, we're looking for Black and brown and LGBTQT, right? We want to be the, we always say, the united colors of Benetton in every shade and every flavor, as a company, to be able to reflect and also, just tap into a greater ecosystem of people, right? Because it's really about people. And when we start looking at each other as people, and what our worth and our purpose is to the world, then it's really about that syndicate and that network that we want to build.
I love that so much. And that's similar to even how I'm thinking about our cap table. Like we intend to make all of our investors very wealthy. And so who are we like giving that position to like distribute that wealth even further at some point? And Baron, when you're thinking of you also do incubate companies. And
Yes.
what does that process look like for you?
So for us, it's it has been over the last 5 years, a few companies that I've co-founded with some friends, and now we're starting to branch out and look for founders, right? Look for people who have great ideas or ideas that need to come to life that may need product, whether it's tech product, whether it's manufacturing consumer product, and really start to ideate. One of the companies now in our incubator, the Thank You Pill, which will be releasing in Q1, and that's with a young lady, Isa Watson, and we became friends. Um, we became friends, and the thing with Isa was, I believe that she had a great product, she had a great opportunity, and she had already had investors. And the way she was looking at it was really from a entrepreneurial standpoint. And what we wanted to do was just start to workshop like different ideas of how to connect and how to save that money and build the value before we need the money to actually launch the business. And so, that's how one company kind of happened. And, a lot of times it happens through Twitter. It happens through a lot of our big events, and, through our network of, cool advisors and athletes. We always say, like, I always say yes to my time for athletes and entrepreneurs, to always hear pitches. And so, I'm kind of like, I enjoy being a scout, right? And kind of like first wave of contact because of my curiosity.
Yes, and this word curiosity. So as I've gotten to know you and really like learn so much of like your former experience, like during when you were playing during the NBA in your off seasons, you would actually take internships to learn and educate yourself. And do you want to talk a little bit about why you did that?
One, I felt like I was my own agent. So
Which is amazing in itself. You fired your first agent, if that's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I walked away and I said, "Hey, I want to start my own agency." I was like 21 years old, and now I basically had my career in my own hands.
Yeah.
And so I was like, the best way for me to save money and to actually, like learn something is to take internships and go back to school. So I got an apartment in the summer and I went back to school, took internships, and it really gave me an opportunity to learn what it meant to be a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So walking off the court usually required us to kind of kick back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like wear flip flops every day, shorts, tank tops. And I'll never forget like my first day of internship. I was like 30 minutes late and I walked in with like a t-shirt, some shorts, some flip flops, and everyone had on suits. And they were like, "Ladies and gentlemen, our new intern, Barry Davis."
Oh
And they
goodness.
were also nice, but I was
Yeah.
super embarrassed. So, from that point, it was just like you have to treat business the same way you do, basketball.
Yeah.
And I started to appreciate just kind of learning from different industries.
Yeah. And what do you think some of those like qualities or learnings have transferred over from the court into the workplace?
Well, I think hard work, dedication, research and knowledge, um, unselfishness, being a team player, focus, goals, measured goals, right? Practice, right? What is the daily work, right? As an entrepreneur, what is your day-to-day routine? What is the day-to-day strategy? What is the long-term vision? Who's on the team? And, how do we magnify the best talents out of everyone, on our team, right? And then thinking about being unselfish is really being open, right? Being open to, ideas, being open to other people having a opportunity to have that thing, right? That light bulb that could trigger something or a problem that needs to be fixed. Around here for our company Slick Sports Lifestyle and Culture, we have an idea box and a pitch box. So it's like, hey, you don't even have to pitch me. Just put it in the box. I'll read it, right? And then we'll have internal pitch days. And so every, producer or, talent that comes in, they feel like their voice will be heard or their pitch will be heard.
Yeah, I love that. And do you think just athletes in general and people who have been competitive their whole lives have a leg up as an entrepreneur?
I would say yes. We were talking about just in this journey in like sports and when you get to the NBA, you have to reinvent yourself and see yourself 5-10 years ahead, right? So I believe the athlete, they have the visionary and the visionary tools because they've had to do that their entire life. So any athlete has had to work as hard as they possibly can to reach a goal or a dream of college or anything that they would like, right? But you have to see yourself almost 5-10 years ahead to know the work that you have to put in. And so, playing in the NBA, you're exposed to so many people, right? You have such a great network that if you can build, as the athlete, the right, I call it bubble team of protection, right? And a filter system and just, people who understand what your vision is, then you have the resources at your disposal to really be able to kind of pull at, like let's say the NBA for certain partnerships, other players for certain partnerships, entrepreneurs and other people that you met. So you do have a leg up, but the thing is people have been in this space for so long, right? The same way as basketball, you have to filter through who can actually carry out these visions and goals. And so, it's tough when you're an entrepreneur. I've learned that myself. Just kind of like building a team, reinventing the team, pivoting, all that to kind of really figure out what that true vision is and what it is you're building. And so, just really trying to understand like all the elements for me is like sports allows me to kind of put perspective and things in boxes and understand who I am and what I want to build. And I feel like that's what athletes have automatically that they should tap into more.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned building the team. And so something that you've had to do like throughout your entire career, whether that's on the court, off the court, like how important is that today to you still? Of like making sure you have that dream team around you, even though you may be like the lead CEO of your business, like how are you thinking about everyone on top of you, is like surrounding and supporting you?
Yeah, it's for me, I look at it as who do I want to work for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then who do I want to work with,
Yeah.
right? So, I live in this space where I kind of understand, you know, um, who I am, kind of like my DNA,
Yeah.
where my value is, and so it's really who do I admire, who can I learn from, right, and who can I work for, and then at that point is like now I know how to work with them, right,
Mm-hmm.
and get the best out of them so they can get the best out of me. But like I tell my team, is like, you're the boss and you're the boss of me. Right. And
Yeah.
so that kind of makes it a lot easier for me to, kind of live and connect and find and, meet people and for them to kind of be the boss and manage, all the aspects of what we're doing. So they are the boss. I'm the servant. I'm like a scout or like in creative development for, for the businesses that we've incubated. So, co-founder, but not a CEO or an executive. I just want to, empower those type of people.
I really like that mindset in general. And just even thinking back to your roots and like the curiosity, like where do you think that started from a young age?
I would say playing basketball as an outlet. I would say shout out to my grandparents for raising me. I would say being raised in South Central.
Yeah.
And so um, growing up like in kind of like the absolute worst conditions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like almost like outside of like being homeless, but time to time being like in transition.
Yeah.
You live in a bubble,
Mhm.
right? Basketball became that bubble, books, TV. Like, so you create this bubble and you kind of like live in these dreams, you know what I mean? And so kind of being from where I am, I think that that helped me, right, to also like see past, right, or assume the personality or want to be like someone. And so the closer I got to the people that I can actually be like and touch, the more options I had of being a lawyer or being a basketball player, or, you know. And so that, I think that's kind of like, I'll say, to answer the question, like where I draw from, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And what it's provided clarity for me.
Totally. And I was mentioning to you that I watched every single interview out there on YouTube that has ever been produced about you. And the running theme, and you touched on it, was your grandma and
Mhm.
like how much of an impact she had on you. And like, I'm really curious to learn a little bit more of like the value she instilled in you that you really see like shining through today.
Uh, well, I hope I'm not disappointing her.
Oh, I doubt that,
uh, I
Aaron.
would say right now she's probably upset because I have a beard, and she would always say, you know, be presentable, be humble,
Mhm.
be honorable to people. You know, look to serve instead of to gain.
Mhm.
Um, you know, save your money. I think I did a good job of doing that. Invest your money wisely. I think I'm doing a good job of that. And really treat people the way you want to be treated. Also treat people um, the way that they haven't been treated before,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
so be smart about, you know, your confrontations and when you argue, and kind of use that as an opportunity to like treat somebody differently who has never really like had that, you know what I mean? And so that's, you know, and she would always describe it as like pick your battles. And then she would say a fool and your money will soon part. Like if a fool and his money will soon part, so don't be a fool, you know.
I love that.
And I think, you know, by her keeping us in church and, you know, keeping us disciplined about, you know, one, cleaning up. I love to clean up. And that's just a lesson of life, you know. Clean up, be right, be presentable, don't overstay your welcome, things like that. And it really, you know, it allows you to have these foundational tools, right, that treat people as people.
Mhm.
And
I
so that's been, you know, part of my journey.
And now, Baron, you're a dad too, to
I
two
am
wonderful
too.
kids, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, now being a parent yourself, like, how are you thinking about educating them, like instilling these values in them, and like how important is that educational piece to them for you?
I think it's huge. One, you know, our kids are going to be a lot smarter than we are, right? And for me, I really try to get my kids to understand their feelings and emotions.
Mm,
And I talk to my kids as I would if they were already 15,
interesting.
right? And so we have conversations about, you know, like our kind of little mantra is, you know, be who. And it's like, be yourself, right? So no matter who you're around, any of your friends, you always be you. So if something is not right that you don't agree with, it's not right. You know what I mean? And nobody can, kind of move you off your mark. Because if the more you're you, right, the more you love yourself and you don't care about, what other people say about you or how they feel, right? And so, like, I literally try to coach them, and then on the other side, like, as a parent, just try to like love them, connect with them. And I think for me, it gives me a chance to be, 5 years old, 6 years old, 4 years old again, and actually, just kind of listen to them, right? What's interesting to them. And I think that's the best thing about a parent is like you learn so much from your kid if you just like shut up and listen.
I love that so much. But it's really true. They are wicked smart, and a lot
Yeah,
of like kids also don't have filters, and they'll just say the truth and what's top of mind for them too.
absolutely. And the world looks different from their perspective. So it's truth to them, right? And, sometimes I think as adults, we forget, other people's truth or other, even if we don't agree with it.
Yeah. And I'm curious as far as like current states of the world with like school being at home, like how has that impacted you on a daily life? Like, are the kids schooling within the house?
Yeah, so one is actually at school. He's at preschool, so he goes. And they're doing a great job of, just making sure everybody's safe. And my older son, he's 6. He's doing Zoom, like virtual Zoom.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of that is tough, but we do different things to kind of like create accents on top of like school. So we do like like he's about to do a yard sale. So he got to do all the accounting. He got to give me 20%. And so I teach him, I teach him how to do that, and then he can buy what he wants if he wants to buy candy, you know what I mean? Or, making him do certain exercise drills during the week. So everything for him and for them is, just kind of like building on what they're learning right now in school.
That's amazing. Like real world example
Yes.
for them to engage with and really like, learn outside of the classroom too, which is really important to like supplement all of that that's happening.
Yeah.
And Baron, beyond the kids, like educating people just on like what's happening in the world, do you want to talk a little bit about the Black Santa Company, like
Yeah.
why you started it? Because I think that's really important just in general.
Yeah. So I trademarked Black Santa like 5 years ago when I would say I was in my dark days as an athlete because I got hurt, my career was over, and wanting to channel kind of like the spirit of Walt Disney and Disneyland, which is my favorite place. And A Small World is like my son's favorite place. And I used to go to A Small World and say that, Disney saw the world, almost like 100 years ahead of schedule. And so nobody has kind of taken this small world and actually shown, the macro and the micro representation of people and people of the world. And so with that, we created this company called You Wish It, You Dream It, It Comes True. And then with Black Santa, we wanted Black Santa to be our hero character, our Mickey Mouse. And so we created Black Santa and Mrs. C. And, what we've been doing is on the 25th of every month, we have something called Giving Has No Season Day. And it allows us to give kids computers, right? Donate money, have, town halls and firesides, and also give other creators opportunities to like feature their content from around the world. So we program these Give and Have No Season days. And then, of course, for Black Santa, the goal around that was to create a hero and a character that, had an inclusive eye on people, right? And, we want to see, characters of color, stories of color, worlds of fantasy, worlds of magicians, right? Just kind of like these outer world thinkings. And we want to be able to relate with characters that, relate to our culture. And so Black Santa was, you know, a creation of mine to really be, everything that can be great with being a part of culture, but also, counterculture to, what we've kind of commercialized in Christmas. Right. And so, with that, we always say his slogan is bless someone, giving has no season. And, with Black Santa comes the League of Santas, the many faces of Santas. And so it gives us an opportunity to, create, holidays and heritage weeks and months and, really create stories from, a multicultural standpoint for families, you know what I mean, that kids can resonate with, that, will allow us to, just really just kind of like over sensationalize, right? Or over fantasize, these worlds that can be built that reflect more of what the world looks like.
So true, and honestly, so important. And I'm eager to know from you, like, how storytelling is important from the education perspective. And like for me, I think it helps break down very complex conversational topics and make it approachable.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on that, Baron?
How real can I get?
Real as you want, Baron.
So, I believe that, kids in elementary school are taught slavery,
Okay.
right? And they're taught that to teach empathy.
Yeah.
But you're not really looking at, the mechanisms and the constraints that they would have from a young child growing up, right? And then at that point, when they look on TV, they see nothing that reflects them, that gives them an outlet or a hole, right? Right? Or a magical, tunnel under their garage that they can explore, because they have to now figure out a way to relive what they've been taught.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that works for the sensitivity of kids early on in their life, right? And so the thought around Black Santa was, if we can create content, right, that just showed, and starting with Santa Claus, who's positive, who's on time, who's gift giving, who's funny, right? If we could start with the core values of, what it means to be, giving and loving, right? Then kids can start seeing themselves, right? And now we can build characters that's going to resonate, right? And so now when the education comes, right, you can actually teach dreams, you can teach wishes, you can teach the business inside the game, right, of math, right? And now these kids can they're not just learning what 1+1 means, you know what I mean? They're learning it in the context of the worlds that can be built when you have the right storytelling, when you have the right technology, and you have, this kind of marriage of entertainment, technology, thought leaders, and education, just really providing kids with like the landscape or the platform to allow their imagination to teach us how to become a better people in this future world.
Yeah. I love that so much. And it's honestly amazing work, and it's going to do so much good in the world too. Like, it's needed, and you're bringing that to and making that accessible, and like putting those ripple effects into the next generation of people. And Baron, like, as you're obviously very talented on the business side, but also on the impact side too, and that's really interesting, like, combination. And it's something I think about with Toucan as well, like providing amazing education but also massive business. So as you're thinking about opportunities and just building, like, because you have probably so many things at your fingertips, like, do you balance those two in your mind?
Yeah, I always like try to figure out, when I'm thinking about business, what is the marketing strategy, right? And so if I'm thinking about something that's creative, it's like, what is the real business behind it, and does it have a life, right? So it's, I think, kind of like the way I think on like both sides. And
Mhm.
so I can actually build something and create something, and like build something and create something as it's going, right? So like my development process is almost like a shared and collaborative space. And so if I had an idea, I want to find a co-founder who may, we can be having a conversation and come up with a great idea. And I'm like, "Ooh, that's a good company. Should I go forward?" And you'll say, "Go." And I was like, "You want to be a co-founder?" You're like, "Yeah." I don't have the time. I was like, "Oh, that's fine. Let's just find someone." And when you're out there and you're hungry and you want to light these pathways for, you know, these these new entrepreneurs, right? This new generation of corporate America or global corporate, right? It's like I want to build a firm and a company that, people are raising their hand and we're putting the right people in these positions, knowing that, paths are going to be lit, right? And
Yeah.
people are well deserving of it. So it's pay it forward, pay it forward, pay it forward.
Yeah, I love that a ton. And like even similar to how different faces of Santa and seeing different people being represented, and then you actually intentionally investing in female entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs, brown entrepreneurs, like that provides another light for people to look up to these people and now like see themselves and like,
Yeah,
oh, I can actually do that as well. Um, as you're thinking through that, like what comes to mind? Like, do you think that's really important that people have these like role models to look up to?
absolutely. I mean, I think, and you can attest to this as an athlete. It's like the closer I can get to this person that I read about that plays the same position, or I feel like, went to this school, which is similar to my school, right? As soon as I can get to that person and even see them and see how they work or how they move or how they practice or hear, right? Then like I'm one step closer to my dream. If I get to meet that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I may meet someone that does not look like me in this space, right? But that person looks exactly like me and they're doing something totally different that I can apply to me in this space that I'm doing it in. And so, we want people to walk through the door and feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We want people to walk to the door and feel like they can share who they are. We want to be interested in who they are, what their background is, what their perspective is, because I would say the goal now is to create solutions
Mm-hmm.
in an ecosystem of thought leaders and people from all walks of life that you can listen and learn from and come together for, the best type of solutions possible.
I love that. And as you're thinking about solutions and being an LA native, born and raised, like, what do you think LA in general is like uniquely positioned to solve?
Well, I would say one, I think, technology and media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have that right in your back pocket. And then I'd say on the other side is sports, right? People don't give credit. I've been champion, this ever, for life, that there's so many great athletes who
Mm-hmm.
come from LA, who do all these great things, who go on to play professional, who will go on to college and find companies. And, it's just like a great opportunity for LA, right, as a city to figure it out, right? Because it's almost like the last city of the tech frontier, right? That, all these people from Silicon Valley and New York and everybody's moving to LA. And we've always been known for Hollywood, but LA is also one of the most segregated places that, in our country, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about the haves and the have nots. And so, it's like everything is happening closer to the coast, right? or downtown, but not in Compton, not in Watts. Inglewood is getting, Steve Ballmer and the Clippers and the Rams, but like, what else is happening in Inglewood, right? And so these people you grow up with play Pop Warner football, basketball. Like, these people are pillars and staples in our community, and these kids should have a chance because look at our odds, right? Look at our odds with no Silicon Valley, hardly, any real resources. And so I think LA has the opportunity to be a leader, right? And we have an opportunity and a responsibility to change everything that they're saying we have a problem with. That's, people of color, that's women, that's LGBTQT, that's inner city, that's opportunity zones. That's like, everything that's homelessness, right? We have an opportunity to like come together as a city and be an example of how to, express ourselves and build a master plan of, what the frontier of, kind of like these new cities would look like, right? And what this new code and this new purpose of entrepreneurs, athletes, and all, can kind of live in a system that is, built for opportunity, right? And not for, limited opportunity.
Yeah, I love that vision, and even like putting that into practice. And I'm sure the audience would be really curious to know, like, especially in these times, like, probably not enough to just not be racist, but be anti-racist and actually an ally. And so, like, do you have any suggestions on what anyone can put into action to like help us realize that vision, like not just in LA, but wherever these people are from?
Yeah, I mean, I live by a philosophy that, if you're racist, thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
Hmm.
I want to focus on the people who are not.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for so long, we as, a country have focused on the divide of where people draw the line. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, if someone is adamant about, not wanting to get to know me, not wanting to respect me, not, not care about my well-being or the well-being of anyone that looks like me, then okay, great. I know I know what side of the fence that you play on in my life, in my world. And so now I want to build with the people over here, because if we can get more of us focused on us, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then perspectives are going to change anyway, right? Because half of the problem is the problem that we see, in media, in venture, in tech, in the system, right? So if the people who are trying to disrupt the system come together and create our own system, right, that look like us, right, that don't mind each other, right, that actually love each other, that want to amplify each other, then somebody's missing out on a hell of a good time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so be it. You know what I mean? And you'll get more people, you'll be able to magnify that, right? Because their kids are going to look at them and say, what are you doing wrong? Why are we living like this when everyone else is living like free? You know what I mean? And so, that's just kind of like where I sit, I think, with race, and really want to focus on how do we build our own ecosystem, right? How do we embrace the people that we need to, right? And how do we love ourselves? How do we present ourselves the way we want to present ourselves, and build those platforms, right? And build those companies to invest in us to be able to do that.
Yes. Yes, I am in, Baron. And as we're thinking about the future for you, like, what are you most excited about that might be coming down the pipeline? Near term, long term, like, what should everyone have their eyes peeled for?
I would say right now, I'm super excited about, Big and, our management factory. So a combination of, think like a UTA meets a Y Combinator in LA, where we're incubating, accelerating, and investing in companies, and doing a lot of these summits and having these conversations. And I would say the most exciting thing outside of Black Santa, we got a movie deal and a movie offer, so that's great. But that's going to happen in 2022. But I would say Slick, sports, lifestyle, and culture. And so, what we're building with Slick, and we're out raising money now, which has been incredible, is looking at owning culture and building a platform, our Quibi meets Patreon, where content creators and contributors can, own their own content, right? And so just working with sports franchises, working with Hollywood studios, right? I think that, there's a great opportunity to build, a world or a network where, the culture can create the content that they want to see and the fans want to know more of, right?
Yeah, I love that, Baron. And for everyone listening in, like, any takeaways, call to actions, anywhere that they can follow you, watch what you're up to, what's next?
Yeah, you can follow me at Big Summit. BigSummit.co is our website. And then Big Summit on Instagram, at Slick, SLIC. Also follow Black Santa on Instagram. All social handles is Black Santa. But I would say, like, our call to action, we've been doing a bunch of panels on voting.
Hmm.
And so I would say, make sure that when we vote, we do our research, right? And voting, you're not voting for one person, right? You're voting for yourself. You're voting for your city. You're voting for your state. You're voting for your country. You're voting for your morals. You're voting for the values and the things that you believe in, right? And the world that you want to see get better. And so make sure that we're not just focused on, who's going to be our president, right? But who's going to serve in every aspect of our government. And that's why this election is important, right? That's why it is important to understand, who aligns with your values. And I would say the call to action is, go vote, create the content, and go vote. Go vote. Talk about voting. Have those conversations, because this is important.
It's amazing. Definitely agree. Go vote, everyone. And thank you so much, Baron, for your time. I was reading all of the comments too. Like, people really enjoyed this. And so we appreciate you.
Thank
And we're
you.
excited to keep talking.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Taylor.
Bye,
This is
Baron.
amazing.